The crack of the rifle echoed through the dark Atlanta forest, shattering the midnight silence like a thunderclap. Under the pale moonlight filtering through the pine branches, Aisha Thompson squeezed the trigger one last time, her breath steady as a metronome. The bullet streaked through the night, striking the makeshift target, a rusted can, at exactly 500 yards. Dead center. Her eagle tattoo, inked boldly across her back, seemed to pulse with the recoil. Its wings spread wide as if ready to take flight. But as the echo faded, Aisha's dark eyes clouded with pain. Jamal, she whispered to the empty woods, the name catching in her throat like smoke. Her brother, gone forever in the sands of Iraq, killed because his spotter missed a crucial shot at 900 yards. The pain still haunted her, sharp as the rifle's report. But tonight, something shifted. Aisha lowered the rifle, an old Remington her grandfather had passed down, and felt a resolve harden in her chest. She decided to change everything. Yet, as she packed up under the stars, questions swirled. Could a black woman like her, quiet and unassuming, really step into that world? The doubt gnawed at her, but so did the fire within. Flashback to her ordinary life. In the fluorescent-lit aisles of the Atlanta Public Library, Aisha moved with quiet efficiency, her slender frame barely topping 5'4" and 115 pounds. Her name tag read, Aisha T., Reference Specialist, pinned to a simple cardigan that screamed civilian normalcy. She stacked books on American history, her wire-rimmed glasses slipping down her nose as she helped patrons. But beneath the surface, racial prejudice simmered. White colleagues whispered behind her back, their laughter stinging like hidden barbs. A black woman like you is only good at shelving books, one had sneered during a staff meeting, dismissing her ideas for a diversity program. Stick to what you know. Aisha bit her tongue, her brown skin flushing with suppressed anger, but she never let it show. Instead, she buried herself in research after hours, poring over sniper manuals and ballistics texts in the quiet reading room. She hid her skills well, skills honed since childhood by her grandfather Malik, a Vietnam veteran who'd taught her in these very woods. Shooting isn't just pulling a trigger, little one, he'd say in his gravelly voice, his calloused hands guiding hers. It's physics and patience. He'd explained bullet drop early on, how gravity pulls the round down over distance, measured in minutes of angle, or MOA. 1 MOA is about 1 inch at 100 yards, he'd drill into her. At 500 yards, that's 5 inches of drop if you don't adjust. Miss that, and you miss everything. Aisha had mastered it by age 12, hitting dimes at 200 yards while her peers played video games. But she kept it secret, a hidden gift in a world that already judged her for her skin color. The internal conflict raged. The pain of Jamal's death fueled her, a spotter's fatal miss in a dust-choked valley where wind and heat warped trajectories. He died because someone couldn't read the environment, Aisha thought, clenching her fists. Externally, society piled on. Job rejections laced with subtle racism, stares on the street that screamed, "You don't belong." It was a double wound, grief and prejudice, intertwining like the eagle's talons on her back. The tattoo done after Jamal's funeral symbolized resilience, her grandfather's favorite motif. Eagles don't flock, they soar alone, he'd say. That night, as Aisha returned home to her modest apartment, she found an old envelope in her mailbox, yellowed with age, addressed in Malik's shaky handwriting. Inside, a single note. The eagle flies alone, but it rides the storm to greater heights. It was as if he knew. Curiosity burned. What storms had he faced? The letter opened a loop in her mind, pulling her toward the unknown. This message of overcoming prejudice hit deep, a human reminder that strength comes from within, no matter the barriers. Education lingered in her thoughts. Bullet drop wasn't just mechanics, it was a metaphor for life. Anticipate the fall, adjust, and hit your mark despite the pull of gravity, or in her case, society's weight. Aisha straightened, the decision crystallizing. She would enlist, prove them all wrong. But as she drove toward the recruitment office the next morning, a mini cliffhanger loomed. She steps into the recruitment office, but will they laugh? Or fear? Fade to black, with eagle silhouettes soaring up. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead in the Atlanta Army recruitment office, casting a harsh glow on the motivational posters lining the walls. Soldiers charging forward, eagles soaring high. Aisha Thompson pushed through the glass doors, the cheerful jingle of the bell clashing with the storm brewing in her heart. Her sneakers squeaked on the linoleum as she approached the desk, clutching the Purple Heart in her sweaty palm, its ribbon still crisp from Jamal's funeral just weeks ago. Sergeant Ramirez, a burly man with a practiced smile, looked up from his paperwork, his eyes narrowing at her slight, black frame. Barely 115 pounds, shoulder-length braids tied back in a practical ponytail. "Can I help you, ma'am?" Ramirez asked, already reaching for the standard brochures, assuming she was there for some safe desk job. Aisha's voice was steady, though her pulse raced. "I want to enlist, specifically for sniper training." The office fell silent, save for the hum of the air conditioner. Ramirez leaned back, exchanging glances with two other recruiters, Staff Sergeant Lee and Corporal Hayes, who stifled chuckles. "Sniper training? Ma'am, with all due respect, the washout rate is over 60%. Most successful candidates are young men built like tanks with prior experience. You look like a librarian." "I am," Aisha replied flatly, her internal determination flaring against the external prejudice. The pain of Jamal's death fueled her. A spotter's miss in Iraq, a shot at 900 yards that could have been made if they'd accounted for the wind. "But that's not why I'm here." She slammed the Purple Heart onto the desk with a sharp crack, making the men jump. The metal spun once before settling, its purple gleam stark against the gray metal. Ramirez stared at it, recognition dawning. "I'm sorry for your loss, but intelligence or logistics might suit you better. The physical demands alone." "I know the demands," Aisha interrupted, her voice gaining an edge. She pulled up her sleeve slightly, revealing the edge of her eagle tattoo, its fierce eyes seeming to challenge them. From her purse, she drew a faded photo. A young black girl, maybe 10, holding a rifle beside an elderly man in faded fatigues, her grandfather Malik. "He taught me from age 8. By 12, I could adjust for windage on the fly. A 10 miles per hour crosswind deflects a bullet about 5 inches at 300 yards. Miss that and you miss lives, like my brothers." The recruiters shifted uncomfortably, the mockery fading into skepticism. Lee snorted. "Hunting in Georgia woods ain't combat, miss. And a black woman in sniper school? The odds are stacked." Aisha's internal fire burned brighter, her determination clashing with the prejudice like a storm front. "Have you ever been underestimated? Think about it. The way it stings but also sharpens you." Ramirez picked up the photo, studying Malik's stoic pose. Something flickered in his eyes, a whisper of recognition. He leaned in, murmuring under his breath, "Black Talon Mark." The words hung like a mystery, repeating the curiosity about her grandfather that had stirred in her the night before. What did he know? Aisha pressed on, pulling a short, creased letter from her pocket. Malik's words again. "Eagles don't wait for fair winds. They ride the gales." It was a human anchor, a reminder of legacy amid the doubt. Ramirez sighed, sliding enlistment papers across the desk. "All right, sign here, but prove me wrong." Aisha's hand hovered over the pen, her resolve firm. Can she prove it? She signed the papers, but her inner self begins to waver. Aisha left the recruitment office with the enlistment papers clutched in her hand, the ink still fresh like a wound. The Atlanta streets blurred as she drove home, Ramirez's skeptical words echoing in her mind. Prove me wrong. But doubt crept in, a shadow lengthening with the afternoon sun. Back in her small apartment, the walls closed in, bookshelves lined with tomes on history and ballistics, a photo of Jamal in uniform smiling from the mantel. She sank onto the couch, the Purple Heart heavy in her lap, its cold metal a reminder of loss and legacy. Her phone buzzed. Ramirez calling. "Just checking if you're sure, Thompson. Sniper school's no joke. We've seen folks like you wash out fast." External doubt piled on, his voice laced with unspoken prejudice. A black woman, slim and scholarly, daring to enter their world. Aisha hung up, her internal conflict raging. Doubt about her blackness, her build. Ramirez's words amplified the whispers she'd heard all her life. Was she fooling herself? The pain of Jamal's death clawed at her, but now it mixed with fear. What if she failed, proving them right? Pattern interrupt. A flashback hit like a gust of wind. She was 8, in the schoolyard of her Atlanta elementary, surrounded by white kids chanting slurs. "Go back to where you came from," one yelled, shoving her books into the dirt. Aisha had stood tall, but inside, she shattered. Her mother, a weary nurse with calloused hands, had pulled her close that night. "They see your skin, baby, not your spirit, but you rise above." Yet even then, prejudice lingered, shaping her into someone who hid her strength, top of her class, but always the token in rooms full of doubt. Back in the present, Aisha's eyes fell on her mother's latest letter, tucked in her purse from the funeral. She unfolded it with trembling fingers. Aisha, my heart, don't do this. The military chews up black folks like us. Your brother paid the price. Come home, stay safe, love mama. The words stung, humane in their raw protectiveness, a mother's plea born from generations of struggle. It amplified her internal doubt. Was enlisting revenge or recklessness? Her slim frame, her skin, would they be weapons against her? In a surge of frustration, Aisha hurled the purple heart across the room. It clattered against the mirror, and as she approached to retrieve it, her reflection caught her eye. The eagle tattoo on her back gleamed in the glass, wings fierce and unyielding. Memories flooded. Grandfather Malik in the Georgia woods, his Vietnam scars hidden under long sleeves. Pain is wind for the eagle, little one, he'd say, teaching her to steady her breath amid gusts. It pushes you down, but you use it to soar higher. His lessons weren't just shooting, they were life discipline. Refusal, he'd imply, is the first step to overcoming fear. Acknowledge the storm, then defy it. How do you overcome fear? Share. The question lingered in her mind, a call to anyone facing their own battles. Twist in the loop, kneeling to pick up the medal, Aisha spotted an old wooden box under the couch, Malik's keepsake, forgotten in the move. She pried it open, revealing faded dog tags and a mysterious badge, CIA, etched with a Talon emblem. A small payoff to the curiosity sparked by his letter. What secrets had he carried from Vietnam? It revealed gradually, hinting at a deeper legacy, pulling her back from the edge. The doubt wavered, replaced by a spark. Aisha pocketed the badge, grabbed her duffel, and headed for the door. She boards the bus to Fort Moore, but will training break her? The Georgia sun beat down like a hammer on Fort Moore as Aisha stepped off the bus, her duffel bag slung over her shoulder, feeling comically oversized against her slim frame. The other recruits, mostly young men, broad-shouldered farm boys from the Midwest and city toughs trying to look mean, eyed her curiously, whispers rippling through the group. Who's the librarian? One snickered. Aisha ignored them, her internal resilience steeling against the doubt that had nearly broken her on the ride over. But the eagle tattoo on her back itched like a reminder. Ride the wind? Don't let it ground you. Drill Sergeant Hayes emerged from the barracks like a storm front, his voice booming across the parade ground. Listen up, maggots. This is the army, where we forge steel from scrap. Drop and give me 20. His eyes locked on Aisha, a predatory grin spreading. Well, what do we have here? Black woman thinks she's Rambo? He circled her, his campaign hat casting a shadow. Thompson, you the one who signed up for sniper fantasies? You'll be crying by chow time. The group conflict ignited. Corporal Vance, a hulking white recruit with a sneer, elbowed his buddy. $10 she quits first. This ain't affirmative action hour. The taunt stung, amplifying the prejudice she'd fought her whole life. Aisha hit the dirt, her arms burning by push-up 10, the sun scorching her back. Internal resilience wavered, doubt whispering she didn't belong, but she drew on Grandfather Malik's lessons. Control your heartbeat, little eagle, he'd taught during those forest sessions. Under 60 BPM and the world steadies. Panic spikes it. Discipline tames it. She slowed her breath, feeling her pulse drop, turning pain into focus. By push-up 30, her form held solid, sweat dripping but unbroken. Hayes barked, pathetic, get up. But as she rose, defiance in her eyes, he paused, impressed, though he hid it. Later, during a grueling run, Vance tripped her subtly, hissing, go home. But Private Ellis, a fellow black recruit with a kind face, pulled her up. Ignore him, sis, we've got this. His allyship was a quiet anchor, human in its solidarity amid the hostility. As the day ended, Aisha collapsed in her bunk, resilience forged anew. But Hayes is hiding a secret. She completes the first day, but the firing range will reveal everything? The firing range at Fort Moore stretched out like a gauntlet under the relentless Georgia heat, targets shimmering in the distance like mirages. Aisha lined up with the recruits, her M16A4 rifle feeling familiar yet foreign in her hands. Military issue, not Grandfather Malik's old Remington. Hayes paced the line, his voice cutting through the chatter. Time to separate the shooters from the posers. Thompson, you're up first. Let's see if that eagle ink means anything. or if it's just decoration. Conflict surged. The physical toll of the morning's ruck march still burned in her legs. 10 miles with a 60-pound pack, Vance's sabotage attempt during the trek nearly tripping her into the mud. "Keep up, or go home," he'd snarled, his opposition a constant grind. Aisha's muscles screamed, but her internal resilience held, forged in the doubt she'd overcome on the bus ride here. She settled prone, the eagle tattoo pressing against her shirt like a talisman. Pattern interrupt. A quick flashback to Malik in the woods. Elevation adjustment is key at distance, he'd taught, his voice steady. At 800 yards, you need about 15 MOA up to counter bullet drop. Gravity doesn't care about your size or skin. She applied it now, calculating wind and angle in her head. The first shot cracked. Through the spotting scope, Hayes saw it punch dead center at 400 yards. "Beginner's luck," he barked. But the next 4 followed, each bullet threading the same hole, a one-hole group, impossible precision. The range fell silent. Hayes challenged again. "Do it at 600 yards, Thompson. Prove it's not a fluke." Aisha reloaded, her heartbeat controlled under 60 BPM, and fired. Another perfect cluster. Recruits murmured, Vance's face twisting in envy. How do you apply this skill in daily life? Precision under pressure, whether in a job interview or facing prejudice, turns obstacles into targets. Twist in the loop, Hayes pulled her aside later, his gruff demeanor cracking. "Where'd you learn that?" Aisha mentioned Malik. Hayes's eyes widened. He'd discovered something in her file. "Black Talon? Your grandfather was a legend in Vietnam. Saved my old unit's CO once." The revelation looped back to the CIA badge, hinting at secrets yet to unfold. Orders came. Sniper school at Quantico. Aisha boarded the transport, resolve hardened. She enters Quantico, but internal enemies await. The Marine Corps base Quantico loomed like a fortress of trials, its sprawling grounds a crucible for the elite. Aisha arrived amid a sea of recruits, all men except her, their stares a mix of curiosity and disdain. Internal enemies awaited, as Hayes had warned in his cryptic nod during the transfer. Vance, now a fellow candidate, wasted no time spreading rumors in the barracks that first night. "Thompson's here on some diversity quota," he muttered loudly enough for her to hear, his voice dripping with opposition. "She'll get real Marines killed." The words reopened her internal doubt, a whisper from the bus ride. Did she belong? But Aisha unpacked silently, the eagle tattoo a silent vow, ride the storm. The tests began at dawn, a series of challenges designed to break the week. First mini-climax, harsh PT in the Virginia humidity, 20-hour days of ruck marches over rugged terrain with 60-pound packs. Aisha's slim frame screamed in protest, her legs buckling under the weight as larger recruits pulled ahead. Vance smirked during a break. "Holding us back already?" The multi-layered conflict intensified. Group opposition from him and a few others who echoed his prejudice, her internal doubt flaring. Black, female, unproven. But she used technique, channeling Malik's lessons. "Breathe like the eagle, steady, unyielding," she reminded herself, controlling her pace with disciplined strides. By mile 8, she caught up, passing Vance with a quiet nod. Mini cliffhanger. As the group collapsed at the end, Hayes barked. "That's just warm-up. Classroom next. Who cracks first?" Second mini-climax. Ballistics class, where equations danced on whiteboards like enemies to conquer. Instructors grilled them on mirage reading, how heat waves distort distant targets, requiring intuitive adjustments. Read the shimmer like wind on feathers, Aisha thought, repeating the eagle motif. Vance, struggling with the math, spread more rumors. "Bet she cheats, librarian my ass." Doubt gnawed internally, but education anchored her. Mirage reading wasn't just tech. It was humanity's edge, seeing truth through illusion, much like overcoming prejudice. She aced the quiz, calculating a shot at 1,200 yards with variable winds, her answer precise, a just 4.5 MOA right for crosswind mirage. The class murmured approval, but Vance's glare promised trouble. Mini cliffhanger. Field exercise tonight. Survive or wash out. Third mini climax. The night stalk. A stealth drill through dense woods with night vision gear. Aisha adapted quickly, her smaller build slipping through branches like a shadow. But Vance struck, tampering with her gear during setup, loosening her scope mount. Misdirection twist. She thought it sabotage, fury boiling as her first shot went wide in simulation. "He's cheating to eliminate me," she seethed, internal doubt peaking. Group tension exploded when she confronted him mid-exercise. "You want me gone that bad?" Vance denied it smugly, but Hayes intervened post-drill. "It was a test, Thompson. Real enemies tamper, allies adapt." The loop paid off. Vance's cheat was Hayes' setup to forge resilience, echoing Malik's eagle wisdom. "Storms test your wings." Aisha's technique shone. She recalibrated on the fly, neutralizing targets with flawless shots. But the shadow of the past is about to emerge. Humanity surfaced in her bunk later. A letter from her mother arrived, creased and tear-stained. "Aisha, I'm scared for you but proud. Remember, eagles don't fear the fall, they embrace it. Love, Mama." It was a humane lifeline, bolstering her amid the trials. Weeks blurred into a grind, allies emerging. Ellis from Basic, now her spotter, offering quiet support against Vance's barbs. She passed the course's notorious shooting sequence, her final 1,000-yard hit drawing reluctant nods. She passes, but Iraq will be hell? The C-130 transport rumbled through turbulent skies over Iraq, its engines a constant roar against the desert winds below. Aisha sat strapped in with her squad from the 2nd Marine Expeditionary Unit, her M40A6 sniper rifle cradled like an old friend. Deployment had come swiftly after Quantico, her first real combat, the hell Hayes had promised. The mission briefing was stark. Extract a downed pilot from hostile territory in a valley controlled by Shadow Viper, a notorious Taliban marksman with 15 confirmed kills, always from extreme ranges, vanishing like smoke. Intelligence pegged him as a veteran, his shots defying conditions that broke lesser shooters. External conflict loomed in the sandstorm brewing outside, visibility dropping to near zero as they neared the LZ. Winds gusted at 20 miles per hour, whipping dust into swirling walls that could throw off any trajectory. Group tension simmered too. Vance, assigned as her spotter despite their history, grumbled from the seat across. "Great, stuck babysitting again," he muttered, his blame already sharpening like a blade. Ellis, now a solid ally, shot him a warning look, but Aisha felt the rift, Vance's prejudice festering, ready to erupt under pressure. They hit the ground running, rotors chopping through the haze as the team fanned out toward the pilot's compound, 2 clicks away. Aisha and Vance took overwatch on a rocky ridge, her scope scanning the brown expanse dotted with ruins. Winds variable, gusts shifting directions, she noted, calculating crosswind formula in her head. Deviation equals wind speed in mph times range in hundreds of yards, divided by a constant, roughly 10 for .308 rounds. At 800 yards, a 15 miles per hour cross could deflect 12 inches, miss that, and lives ended. Vance peered through his spotting scope, his calls sloppy. Target at 11 o'clock, 700 yards, looks clear. But Aisha spotted the inconsistency, a faint heat signature in the storm. Negative, that's decoy. Real threat at 1 o'clock, elevated. Vance scoffed. "You're seeing ghosts. This is why." A shot cracked from the valley, kicking up dirt near the advancing squad. The pilot's radio crackled. "Sniper fire, we're exposed." Group blame exploded. Vance turned on her. "Your fault," hesitating like some rookie. The accusation stung, prejudice boiling over in the chaos. Aisha's focus held, but internally doubt flickered. External storm mirroring her turmoil. Pattern interrupt, shift from tactics to internal reflection. How harmful do you think prejudice is? It blinds like this sandstorm, turning allies into obstacles when unity means survival. Twist in the loop. As another round whizzed past, a flashback gripped her. Malik in Vietnam's jungles, 1968, his battalion pinned by Viet Cong snipers during a monsoon. Outnumbered, he'd volunteered solo, vanishing into the rain to eliminate threats one by one, saving 200 men despite his own wounds. "Eagles don't wait for clear skies," he'd later told her. The memory looped back, bolstering her humanity amid the fury, a grandfather's sacrifice teaching that true strength defies the gale. Back in the storm, Shadow Viper struck again, a bullet grazing Ellis below. The squad dove for cover behind a low wall, radio frantic. "Overwatch, neutralize or we're done." Vance's poor spotting had cost them position, the team trapped in open ground. The sandstorm howled like a living beast, grains stinging Aisha's face as she lay prone on the ridge, the squad's desperate radio calls crackling in her earpiece. "Overwatch down. Viper's got us locked." They were pinned behind crumbling rocks, exposed and vulnerable, the pilot's compound just out of reach. Aisha felt collapse looming, exhaustion from the unrelenting winds, Vance's earlier fumble as spotter costing precious seconds. But in that life-or-death precipice, moral conflict surged. To pull the trigger meant ending a life, even in enemies. Was she a protector or a killer? The weight pressed heavier than her rifle. Vance crouched beside her, his voice tight. "We need to fall back. Your calls are off." But Aisha saw the betrayal in his eyes, or so she thought. A deliberate misread of the terrain, pointing her scope away from Viper's true hide. Misdirection twist. "He's selling us out," she whispered to herself, fury igniting. Group fractures from Quantico had followed them here. Vance's prejudice now a lethal sabotage? She couldn't wait. Drawing on Malik's stealth teachings, Aisha disappeared. Rolling into a gully, using micro-terrain folds in the storm's cover to move unseen, her ghillie suit blending with the chaos. Smaller frame and advantage now, she crawled 200 yards to a new vantage, heart-pounding but controlled. A motive peak. From her perch, the scope revealed Shadow Viper, a shadowy figure in elevated ruin, rifle trained on her team. The shot, 1,500 yards, uphill through gusts. Education surfaced amid tension. Time of flight for the 338 Lapua round, about 1.8 seconds, enough for wind to shift or the target to twitch. One miscalculation, and it all ended. Mini hook. As she adjusted, 12 MOA up for drop, 6 left for crosswind. Doubt whispered, "First shot. Will it find its mark or betray you like Vance?" The trigger squeeze felt eternal, moral killing clawing at her soul. Humanity flooded in Jamal's memories. His laugh during childhood hunts, his last letter home. "Sis, be the shield I couldn't." Tears blurred her vision, but she fired. The bullet arcsed, time stretching in that 1.8-second void. Impact. Viper slumped, his threat silenced. But another round whizzed back, grazing her shoulder. Viper had a partner? Mini hook. Second shot, closer now but Vance's voice on radio. "Thompson abort, is he guiding them to me?" She repositioned, vanishing again into the haze, blood soaking her sleeve. Vance's betrayal confirmed, or so it seemed, as enemy fire honed in on her old position. Rage fueled her. Spot the secondary hide, 1,200 yards partially obscured. Moral weight doubled, 2 lives now? But Jamal's face steadied her. Shield them. Fire. Hit. The valley quieted, the squad advancing safely to extract the pilot. Twist payoff. As air support arrived, Hayes' voice cut through the comms, not from base, but embedded. "Stand down, Thompson. Vance's spotting errors were my orders, a final test. Real war has traitors. You adapted." The loop closed. Grandfather's full story unfolded in her mind. Malik not just a saver in Vietnam, but tested similarly, his Black Talon moniker earned by outlasting simulated betrayals in classified ops. He'd paid off his own doubts, forging a legacy she now claimed. Victory surged, the pilot safe, squad cheering over radio. But the reward comes at a price. The crisp October air at Marine Corps Base Quantico carried the scent of fallen leaves as Aisha stood at attention on the parade ground, her dress blues immaculate despite the fresh scar on her shoulder from Iraq. The Navy Cross gleamed on her chest, the nation's second-highest Valor Award, pinned by a stoic colonel reading the citation. For extraordinary heroism, Lance Corporal Thompson's precision under fire saved 7 lives and eliminated a high-value threat. The assembled crowd, Marines, family, even skeptical brass, applauded, but Aisha's mind replayed the price. The moral weight of those shots, the blood on her hands, the storm's roar fading to silence. Conflict resolution unfolded in waves. Vance approached afterward, his face flushed with shame. "Thompson, Aisha, I was wrong. Your calls saved us all. I'm sorry for the rumors, the doubt. You earned this." His apology, raw and unscripted, dissolved the prejudice that had poisoned their unit. Ellis clapped her back, grinning. "Told you, sis. Eagles don't need permission to fly." The group shifted. Whispers of respect replaced barbs, a humane turning point where resilience bridged divides. Satisfying payoff deepened as Hayes pulled her aside, his gruff exterior cracking into a rare smile. "That Black Talon in your file? Your grandfather Mlik wasn't just a vet, he was a ghost in Nam, pulling off shots that rewrote ops manuals. You carry his mark now." The revelation looped back to the badge and flashbacks, a full circle of legacy that fortified her spirit. Twist in the loop. From the crowd emerged General Whitaker, an older white man with a chest full of ribbons, his steel-gray eyes locking on hers. "Corporal Thompson," he said, voice low with authority. "We need to talk about your grandfather. And what comes next." His appearance hinted at deeper shadows, unresolved threads pulling taut. Education and resilience shone through. This wasn't just survival, it was proof that bending in the gale makes you unbreakable, a lesson for anyone facing their own battles. What heritage are you proud of? It shapes us, pushes us to rise. But the road back is full of thorns. The return to Quantico felt like stepping from battlefield triumph into a minefield of whispers. Aisha's Navy Cross still shone fresh on her uniform, but the thorns Hayes had alluded to emerged swiftly. Back at base for debriefing, she noticed the sidelong glances from fellow Marines, subtle at first, then overt. Vance, demoted in spirit if not rank after his apology, couldn't resist old habits. In the chow hall, he leaned toward a cluster of recruits, voice low but carrying. Heard Thompson cheated her way through sniper school. Some tech gadget or insider help. How else does a black chick pull off those shots? The rumors spread like wildfire, igniting a system-wide conflict. An official investigation launched, whispers of irregularities in her training records reaching command. Aisha felt the prejudice dissolve only to reform as institutional doubt, a faceless bureaucracy questioning her valor. It's not just Vance, Ellis confided during a late-night PT session. The system's rigged to second-guess folks like us. The conflict escalated. Anonymous tips flooded in, her eagle tattoo now mocked as Lucky Charm in reports. Internally, she wrestled resilience against exhaustion, the price of victory manifesting as isolation. Twist in the loop. Digging into her grandfather's file during restricted access hours, prompted by Whitaker's cryptic hint, Aisha discovered the truth. Malik wasn't just a Vietnam vet, he was CIA embedded, a black Talon operative running covert ops amid the Tet Offensive. His records, partially declassified, revealed a history of black soldiers in Vietnam. Over 300,000 served, 20% of combat troops, despite being 11% of the population, facing dual enemies, Viet Cong abroad, racism at home. Drafted disproportionately, they returned to segregation, their heroism buried in redacted files. Malik's mission saved battalions, but prejudice labeled him unreliable until proven otherwise. The education hit hard. Resilience wasn't innate, it was forged in forgotten struggles, a humane testament to those who fought twice as hard for half the recognition. What will the truth change? The question hooked her, pulling her deeper into the legacy. As the investigation heated, Aisha prepared her defense, the eagle on her back a symbol of unbroken wings. Hearing approaching, will she break the system? The hearing chamber at Quantico hummed with tension, brass buttons gleaming under harsh lights as Aisha stood before the panel, a row of stern officers, their faces etched with institutional skepticism. The investigation had ballooned, Vance's rumors fueling accusations of unfair advantages in her training and deployment. System prejudice loomed large. Whispers of diversity hire echoed in the halls, questioning her 1,500-yard shot in Iraq as impossible for someone like her. Aisha's heart raced, the eagle tattoo a hidden fire against her back. This was the final conflict, not against Viper, but the very machine she'd sworn to serve. To prove your claims, the lead investigator intoned, demonstrate here and now. They led her to a remote range, targets set at staggering distances. The ultimate test, a demo shoot at 2,000 yards, nearly the edge of a sniper's realm, with variable winds and observers watching for any trickery. Aisha settled prone, the M107 50 cal heavy in her grip. Emotive explosion built. Doubt crashed like waves, system walls closing in, prejudice a barrier thicker than sandstorms. But she breathed, channeling resilience, her pulse dropping as Malik's voice echoed. Equality isn't given, it's claimed, like an eagle seizing the sky. She fired. The round sailed, observers gasping through scopes as it struck true, dead center, defying physics and bias. The panel fell silent, then erupted in reluctant awe. Education and equality surged. Like the eagle, true strength levels all, skin, gender, build irrelevant when skill soars. It's a humane truth. Prejudice blinds, but proof liberates. Twist in the loop. General Whitaker stepped forward, his enemy facade cracking, the man who'd seemingly spearheaded the probe. Enough, he commanded, dismissing the panel. Alone with Aisha, he revealed, I wasn't hunting you, I was protecting the legacy. Your grandfather Malik saved me in Nam. Pinned in a valley, he ghosted through enemy lines, took out snipers that had us dead to rights. Black Talon, they called him, but prejudice buried his story. I owed him. Test you harshly, ensure you're unbreakable. The full payoff looped closed. Malik's CIA ops, his hidden heroism, now hers to inherit. Whitaker, once seeming foe turned protector, handing her a classified file. You're ready to carry it forward. A motive explosion peaked. Tears welled as Aisha embraced the truth. Equality like the eagle, wings for all who dare fly. The system bowed, prejudice shattered. She becomes Black Talon, but the legacy continues? 5 years had passed since Aisha shattered the system's barriers. Her Navy Cross, a symbol of battles won both on the field and within. Now a seasoned operative, she walked the familiar halls of the Atlanta recruitment office, her presence commanding. Dark jeans, a fitted jacket, the eagle tattoo peeking at her collar like a guardian. The fluorescent lights hummed the same tune, motivational posters unchanged. But Aisha was transformed, no longer the doubtful librarian, but Black Talon reborn, mentoring those who dared follow. Master Sergeant Ramirez looked up from his desk, recognition dawning. Thompson, Captain now? Heard about your ops? Classified, but whispers say you're a legend. Aisha nodded modestly, but her eyes scanned the room. The door jingled, and in walked Lila Hayes, 18, Hayes's daughter, hesitant yet determined. Slim, with her father's sharp features softened by youth, she clutched a photo. Her uncle, killed in Syria, his uniform proud in the frame. The loop echoed Jamal's picture from Aisha's own enlistment, a brother's loss fueling the fire. "Can I help you, miss?" Ramirez asked. Lila approached, voice steady, despite nerves. "I want to enlist. Combat role, sniper if possible. My uncle died because of a missed shot. I won't let that happen to others." Aisha stepped forward, her fluid grace-drawing eyes. "I overheard. Lila, right? Your dad mentioned you." Lila's eyes widened, recognition of the woman who'd changed everything. Aisha studied her, seeing the spark. "Tell me your story." Lila unfolded. "Grew up hearing tales of prejudice in the ranks, but her father's transformation after Iraq inspired her. He said you proved resilience beats bias. I can shoot. Dad taught me basics. Hit targets at 400 yards consistently." Aisha smiled, the message crystallizing. Overcoming prejudice through resilience isn't a solo flight. It's a chain, each link stronger. "The eagle flies high despite headwinds," she quoted Malik, summarizing life discipline. "Control your breath in chaos, adjust for drops in trajectory, whether bullets or setbacks. Read mirages of doubt, stalk through storms of opposition. It's not superhuman, it's practice like heartbeat under pressure, turning falls into ascents. Apply it daily. In jobs, relationships, dreams, resilience equals equality." Do you have a story of overcoming hardship? Share in comments, inspire together. Lila signed the papers, Aisha recommending the accelerated track. As she left, Aisha felt Malik's presence, a warm legacy passing on. Lila would face tests, doubts, triumphs, but not alone. Who will be the next eagle?